This week on Instant Experts, there's a ceasefire in Iran.
Except for all the shooting.
Hey, Lebanon's not included, Honk.
Hey, we don't have anything to do with Hezbollah, thank you. We just think you should stop bombing them because we fund them.
Aussie war hero Ben Roberts-Smith is charged with war crimes.
And I'm so far on the fence on this one, there are splinters in my throat.
And in sport, we crack open a bottle of Domaine Leichhardt as the Wests Tigers continue their premiership march.
It is a 2005 too, which was a tremendous year.
The best. Welcome back to Instant Experts, Ceasefire or Stone Age edition. It's all the latest news explained by idiots, here to keep you sane in a crazy world. I'm Henry Lee, and as always, I'm here with my dear friend, the Honk. Honky, welcome.
Henry, my dear fellow, what a pleasure to be here with you.
And where are you watching from this week, Honky?
Well, look, I cannot take a fucking trick, Henry. As you'll recall, I was staying in Dubai a couple of weeks ago, when I got the inexplicably amazing deal to travel there during the war. Then I was evacuated into a boat, remember, in the Strait of Hormuz. Then I was declared a refugee and had to go to your place in Melbourne with the 10-acre backyard and all the sheep. And then I finally get home, and as soon as I get home, they declare a fucking ceasefire. Come on!
Oh, home is good, Honk. I mean, that's where the heart is.
Oh, Henry, my heart is in Hormuz. I would have liked a chance to look around, get up on the deck of the boat, wave to all the nice locals in the green fatigues. They say something lovely. I think it doesn't sound that good in English, but it was something about Zionist dogs. I thought it was beautiful. I left my heart in Hormuz. What can I say?
I left my heart in Hormuz. I think that was the working title of the Tony Bennett song, wasn't it? Just didn't scan properly, so they had to go with San Francisco at the last minute.
That explains it. Look, I mean, you're our jazz correspondent. You would know. Anyway, what a week. And this is, we always say, a show about crooks, fuckwits, and morons. And yet again, we'll try and keep our highlights reel to under 6 hours.
What caught your eye this week?
Well, it's still got to be Iran, doesn't it? I mean, I'm sure it won't be at some point in the next 50 years. At least I hope so. But there's so much writing on it that everything else just feels like mere detail, doesn't it?
Well, we've talked about it, haven't we? Oil prices, LNG, fertilizer, the cost of everything that uses oil, LNG, and fertilizer, which is everything. What's the latest?
Well, it's been another batshit crazy week. Basically, there's been a giant game of chicken between the US and the Iranian regime, specifically between President Trump and whoever's in charge of Iran. As at the time we're recording this, which we think is a cardboard cutout of the Ayatollah, isn't it?
The real Ayatollah being in witness protection, basically.
Yeah, or the cemetery. It's unclear whether or not he's still alive. He could be dead. He could be in Russia recuperating. He might have shaved. He could be backpacking around Europe. Who knows?
With a Ural pass.
The old Ural pass.
They just might want to check the backpack before they let him on the trains.
Hey, don't be like that. He does not do his own terrorism, okay? That's what he's got. That's what he's got Hamas and Aussie bikie gangs for. And last week, to answer your question, Trump was saying the war might have 2 to 3 weeks to go and that the Strait of Hormuz would open up naturally, but also that the US was going to undertake the fiercest bombing of the campaign.
In other words, it was still going, finishing, and escalating all at the same time.
Well, exactly. Now, on one view of things, that's totally fucking incoherent. But on the other, he may have just been laying out the potential scenarios for the Iranians as well as for the world. Play nice and we can do business. Escalate and we'll double down too. In fact, he used a line that became famous almost immediately. He said, quote, "We are going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong."
Kind of the money or the box, isn't it? With the stakes a little higher than Bob and Dolly Dyer on Pick a Box back in the day.
Back in the day before you were born. But you're right. The Stone Age line was last Wednesday.
And that's the box.
Yeah. And then on Thursday, he blew up a major bridge. And then Trump said, quote, "Our military hasn't even started destroying what's left in Iran. Bridges next, then electric power plants. The new regime leadership knows what has to be done and has to be done fast."
That's also the box. Where's the money?
Yeah. Then on Friday, we're getting there. Friday, which was Good Friday, Trump posted, quote, "With a little more time, we can easily open the Hormuz Strait, take the oil, and make a fortune," end quote.
Ah, there's the money. Nothing says Jesus died for our sins like let's get rich from stolen oil.
Yeah. then Saturday, so this is last Saturday, Trump is back to the box.
Right.
He posts, "Remember when I gave Iran 10 days to make a deal or open up the Hormuz Strait? Time is running out. 48 hours before all hell will rain down on them. Glory be to God." Then
Right.
on Sunday,
Which is Easter Sunday.
holiest day on the Christian calendar, commemorating the resurrection of Christ, Trump tweets, quote, "Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it, triple exclamation mark. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch." And he signed off, "Praise be to Allah."
Oh, you could have got very long odds on "Praise be to Allah" featuring in the president's Easter message.
Yeah, and open the fucking Strait, you crazy bastards, became a meme instantly.
And no G on fucking, I noticed. They were quite particular about that. They put the
Yeah,
apostrophe in.
yeah, someone said online it's unusual for a president of the United States to use the informal word fucking in his tweets rather than the more traditional and formal fucking with a G.
In Times New Roman. What's the world coming to, Honk? No respect for proper English.
I mean, would FDR have written fucking without a G? Coolidge, Hoover, Ulysses S. Grant? What is happening? Anyway, just to wrap up the sequence we were talking about, Trump then clarifies the deadline is Tuesday night US time, so Wednesday Australian time, and says there's, quote, a good chance of a deal. Then on the Monday, he's back to threatening to blow up bridges while simultaneously suggesting the US might help rebuild them.
That's good business, isn't it? Blowing up things and then rebuilding them. To see if MEU is available, no doubt, if needed.
They're available whether you want them on site or not, in fact.
Indeed.
Then on Tuesday, US time, so hours before his 8 p.m. deadline, Trump posts, quote, a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will.
Gee Williams, we joke about using proper English, but you have to say that's very good writing. If nothing else, it kind of sounds like a country song. You know, you're all going to die because I'm going to kill you, not because I want to, but just because I'm going to.
With everything after you're all going to die in brackets, right?
Yeah, that's right. If I had one note, maybe it could have had the last line rhyme.
Yeah, I mean, again, you could say it's completely deranged, or you could say it is masterful negotiation, consistent escalation, backed by action, and an image as a crazy man.
Yeah, an image hard earned, you'd have to say.
Yeah, plus little invitations speckled in to de-escalate, make peace, and get on with life.
So what happened, Hockey? Did Trump chicken out or did Iran?
Well, the brinksmanship being what it was, no one could be seen to chicken out, but they also couldn't go to full carnage, so they found the old third way.
The middle option, favourite of consultants like me globally.
And diplomats. So about an hour and a half before his own deadline, Trump pulls out the rabbit, quote, based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran, and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks.
Ceasefire for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and brokered by Pakistan, so Iran is not seen to be backing down, and the US is seen as benevolent because Pakistan asked nicely.
That's actually pretty smart, you got to say.
It's also classic Trump, extreme threats with a liberal dose of taco.
But he didn't taco, Honk. Pakistan asked him.
Well, yes, except it turns out the Pakistan Prime Minister's tweet on the matter, all these negotiations being conducted by Twitter, of course, was drafted by the US. The tweet by Prime Minister Sharif reads as Trump said it did.
Yes.
So it said as follows. You can see it on screen there. It says, diplomatic efforts for peaceful settlement of the ongoing war in the Middle East are progressing steadily, blah, blah, blah. I earnestly request President Trump extend the deadline for 2 weeks. Pakistan, in all sincerity, requests the Iranian brothers to open Strait of Hormuz for a corresponding period of 2 weeks as a goodwill gesture. We also urge all warring parties to observe a ceasefire everywhere for 2 weeks to allow diplomacy in the interest of long-term peace and stability in the region.
Well, that's asking nicely. And I love all the CCs. You got Trump, Vance, Rubio, Witkoff, then all the Iranians, Mohammed Ghalibaf, the hardliner we talked about last week. You got Dr. Pezeshkian, the current Iranian president and former cardiac surgeon and health minister. And at the end there, Syed Abbas Araghchi, who's the Minister for Foreign Affairs and regular Iran negotiator, including over the nuclear program. Basically, if anybody in the world wants to get in touch, you can just tag them at Dr. P, at Ghalibaf, etc.
Maybe we should send them this episode of Instant Experts.
Yeah, we could slide into their DMs, the DMs of the Iranian regime.
The IRGC DMs. Anyway, that was all good, except some clever clogs from the tech world checked the edit function on Twitter X in relation to that Pakistani tweet that we talked about, and they found a previous version headed, quote, draft, Pakistan PM's tweet on X, which is exactly what you'd write if you were a corporate comms or US diplomat drafting a tweet for the Pakistani PM on X.
or the lawyer, because it did have a suspicious use of the word "wherein." I noticed that when you read it. And it's like, I'm not sure the Pakistan president runs around saying "wherein." It's basically like the junior lawyer who accidentally emails the entire negotiation strategy to the counterparty instead of the client.
Yeah, or the senior former TV executive who sends a development executive at an international production company his entire confidential network development document complete with comments because she has the same first name as the assistant of my boss. if it had been me, that is, which it wasn't. but back to the Pakistani tweet, there were some other great elements too, which we'll get to, but it's good news, you'd have to say, there's a ceasefire. And it's good news they're talking.
Well, my share portfolio certainly appreciated, Honk. It was up 8% from rock bottom, mind you.
Yes, but then Israel celebrated the ceasefire by bombing the shit out of Hezbollah in Lebanon.
It did, and then my portfolio went straight back down again, 4%.
You'd think these people would have more sensitivity for your personal financial situation, wouldn't you?
Indeed. But I guess to be fair, Israel and Hezbollah were not actually parties to the ceasefire.
No, but they'll both need to pull their fucking heads in, otherwise this is never going to end. I mean, Trump actually responded to the ceasefire breaches with another warning, basically saying the US was pausing to reload.
So the same playbook, isn't it? Negotiate, but with escalation and credible threats. So where do things stand as we record?
The state of play is there's a 10-point peace plan apparently put forward by Tehran and a 15-point plan put forward by the US. Key elements including Iran's nuclear program, Iran's excursions to Israel and elsewhere, the US's ongoing sanctions, and of course opening the Strait of Hormuz. Iran and the US are meeting in Pakistan this weekend, it seems, and Israel has signalled it is willing to talk to Lebanon.
Hopefully they can compromise via let's say, a 12.5 point plan that involves Iran behaving like a normal country. We've said it before, but everybody would be better off, including the people of Iran, the leaders of Iran, and the rest of the world. The US is copying a lot of criticism over this war, but the reality is Iran has been a terrorist regime for many years and cannot complain it's been hit.
I would throw in Israel, maybe should think about it, blowing up a little less shit all the time too. But as to Iran, I guess it does depend on how much this is about ideology at this point and how much it's about being pragmatic. I mean, Iran still has plenty of leverage, but they've also taken plenty of hits, and their leaders must know they're going to get whacked if they don't play ball.
Literally, they'd be better off just selling oil and getting rich. And if the US could get a result here, it would be amazing. But it's also plausible it will strengthen the regime's resolve and drag on for years. To quote ourselves, Honky, in a movie we wrote many years ago, one thing's certain, there are no guarantees.
That's for sure.
Now, Honky said there are a couple of other elements too.
Yeah, a couple of fun ones. Just two little clips worth diverting for, one of which you have to be watching the show to appreciate, which is Trump talking about Iran and Venezuela and the US military at the White House while standing next to the Easter Bunny.
But I just want to say we have a great military. We have the greatest military, the most powerful military any place in the world. You saw what happened with Venezuela. And it's an honor. I built it in my first term, and I didn't know I was going to be using it this much in my second term.
It's like a bad trip.
And the other is a tweet and the clip of Trump that goes with it. Now, we often joke that the US military titles at the moment sound like gay porn movies, you know, Operation Rough Rider, Operation Midnight Rider, Operation Southern Spear, etc. This was a tweet by a guy called Justin Boljaji, and it's a clip of Trump with the caption, quote, telling everyone how impressive my first bareback orgy was. Have a look / listen to this.
They came in so fast and so hard, and these guys knew exactly what to do. Let's go. Come on. Get in. Let's go. Pwah. They came one right after another, not at the same time. They don't want to come at the same time. They had to come right after each other. They didn't have any room.
That's outstanding. He sounds very happy with the service.
I think you told me that tweet's had nearly 50 million views.
Imagine how well the orgy porno will do. Something for Trump to actually look forward to.
In his retirement.
Okay, folks, time for shout-outs to our listeners and viewers. We have instant experts all over the world trying to work out what the hell is going on, just like we are, including loyal listeners all over Australia, of course, and global regulars in places like Bridgeport, Connecticut, San Jose in California, and lots of places in and around London like Fulham, Twickenham and West Malling in Kent.
Some of our most listening listeners of all, Fulham and Twickers, they've been with us since the start, haven't they?
They have, but Honk, we also have some exotic new locations this week, and we like to test our geography and our pronunciation in this segment. And this week we have Puchong in Selangor, Malaysia, just outside of KL, an old tin mining and rubber town, and now a thriving metropolis.
That wasn't too hard to pronounce. You did that well.
Thank you, but we're starting with the easy ones. Next one is Cheongju in North Chungcheong. North Chungcheong, of course, being in central South Korea.
It's not to be confused with South Central North Korea, where the local gangs fight with, I assume, stone knives and primitive nuclear weapons.
And lastly, and this is the tough one, Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, India, otherwise known as Trivandrum, which is right down the bottom of India, just near the tip on the western side. It's a big seaport with a lot of ships sailing east-west, at least if the Suez or Strait of Hormuz are open.
Which is every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, except when there's a war in the Middle East, which is every day. So sorry, you'll have to go around.
Indeed. Now, Honky, we also have an apology this week, and it was my error.
Okay, we have an apology because they are always your fuck-ups.
Except you did make this one too. I think
Oh, shit, did I? Oh, no.
Mrs.
Fuck.
Lee was kind enough to point it out. We referred to Christy Noam's husband, the one with the bimbofication fetish and fake big boobies, as Byron Noam, when in fact his name is Brian with an O.
So his name is O'Brien?
No, Brian, like Lord Byron, except the other way around.
Oh, okay, so Byron Lord.
Get it?
Sorry, bear with me. Like Byron Adams? Byron Jones. Oh, the Byron Jonestown Massacre.
Anyway, apologies to Lord Brian Noam.
Yeah, still a tragic loser, hypocrite cuck, only we mispronounced your fucking stupid name.
But thanks for all the photos, Brian. They were very arousing.
Very arousing. Now, Henry, that was all very interesting, but the true apology of the week is in a different category entirely.
Better or worse?
Well, arguably both. I mean, it came from the Financial Times. That's the FT. That's the pink-papered finance publication we talked about last week. You like to read at your country house after Jeeves the butler irons the pages just to your liking.
Yes, go on.
And the apology went to Brené Brown.
Who's she again? Is she related to Byron Brown, the Aussie actor?
The great Aussie actor. Brené Brown, she's a professor of social work at Houston University, but she's also a very well-known 6-time New York Times #1 best-selling author, podcaster, has, I think, one of the 5 most viewed TED Talks of all time called The Power of Vulnerability. So she's a really big deal. She's known worldwide for her work on shame, vulnerability, and leadership.
So what did the FT do?
Well, the apology sort of speaks for itself. It says, correction, Brené Brown was misquoted in an interview published April 6th. She described herself as, quote, solidly in my fuck it era, end quote, rather than, quote, solidly in my fucking era, end quote.
That's too good. She'd be about our age, though. Hope she hasn't given up on her husband entirely.
Or else, like Lord Byron Noam, things can...
We might catch him online.
Bad things can happen. Anyway, that is a funny apology. All right, quick shots. First, we do give the US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth a lot of shit on this show.
But only for being a falling down drunk honk, a possible rapist, and a phony tough guy who's barely served in uniform while lecturing the world's most experienced military commanders on weight, gender, and other matters.
Yeah, fair enough. But this week he fronted the media on the state of play in the Iran war, and from the get-go, he really showed true leadership. Take a look and have a good listen. You heard right. He loudly broke wind on camera in 4K with all the mics on.
My question, Honk, is did anyone know which one was the fart and which one is the Secretary of Defense?
Very fair point. Maybe he didn't break wind at all. Maybe it was just a great speech from him. I deeply apologise.
To be honest, I think the fart made a bit more sense.
Well, that's definitely true. One other interesting development in world news over the last couple of weeks, which is that a Belgian court has ruled that the last living member of the group that conspired to murder the Congo's first independence leader, in fact, can stand trial for his murder. So this is one of the heroes of African and colonial independence.
Yeah, along with Grace Tame, obviously.
Oh, obviously, along with Grace Tame, anyway. One of the heroes of the African and colonial independence movement was Patrice Lumumba. He led the Congo's independence from Belgium. He became Congo's first prime minister in June 1960 at the age of 34. Unfortunately, he's pretty much signed his own death warrant the very same day by telling Belgium in his first public speech as prime minister that it had kept the Congolese people in, quote, humiliating slavery. So that was June 1960. The Belgians decided to oust him in a coup in September 1960. In January 1961, he was beaten, tortured, shot dead, and his body dissolved in acid.
Wow.
The Belgian conspirator Etienne Davignon is now 93. He was a junior diplomat at the time of the conspiracy against Lumumba, but he then had this very successful decades-long career, including as vice president of the European Commission.
Right.
So he's finally going to go to trial for murder, as he should.
Wow. Now, Honk, my question is a silly one. Is Lumumba the one they wrote Balalala Lumumba about?
That was La Bomba.
Yeah, I know, it's a great song, but surely that was Patrice's nickname, Balala Lumumba.
You fucking idiot.
I'm sorry. You know what show you're on, right? Kerry O'Brien.
I think you'll find it's Kerry O'Brien. By the way, there actually is quite a good song about Lumumba. It's called Waltz for Lumumba. It's an instrumental by the Spencer Davis Group. That's the R&B group that was led by Steve Winwood, especially one of the last songs he recorded with the band.
Well, the Belgians killed him, didn't they?
Steve Winwood? No, I think he died in a plane crash with Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper, didn't he?
Very good. That was Richie Valens, of course. Steve Winwood got stuck in traffic.
Touche. Shoot me, but also touche. Perhaps speaking of shooting, Henry, the key quick shot, but perhaps more accurately, this is Aussie carnage, is the arrest earlier this week of the former military hero Ben Roberts-Smith for war crimes alleged to have occurred while he was serving in Afghanistan. Now, for Australians, Ben Roberts-Smith is absolutely a household name.
He certainly is, but for international listeners and viewers, Ben Roberts-Smith is one of the most decorated soldiers in the history of Australia. Received the Medal of Gallantry in 2006 and the Victoria Cross in 2011. And that's the highest gallantry medal that an Australian Defence Force serviceman or woman can receive. It's been awarded just over 100 times since the Crimean War, and that was in 1856. 96 times as the Imperial Victoria Cross and 6 times as the Victoria Cross of Australia, 3 of those posthumously. Robert Smith, or BRS as he's referred to, was also named Australian Father of the Year in 2013, and then he ran Channel 7, the Australian TV network, in Brisbane from 2015 to about 2021.
But these allegations about Ben Roberts-Smith began to surface not long after he left military service. They include that he was a bully towards his troops, many of whom didn't like him, one of whom he allegedly threatened to shoot in the head if the guy didn't improve his performance. Allegations that he demanded junior troops to shoot civilians to sort of blood those troops in, and the use of throwdowns, that is, weapons brought along to place by the bodies of already dead, wrongly killed Afghans to make it look like they were a threat when they were killed.
Most seriously of all, Honk, were allegations that Robert Smith was involved personally or directed between 4 and 6 unlawful killings, including shooting dead an unarmed teenager, an elderly imam who was dragged from a mosque unarmed as a prisoner, machine gunning an Afghan with a prosthetic leg, and then making other troops join Robert Smith in drinking from the prosthetic leg. And lastly, that he personally kicked a handcuffed Afghan man off a cliff face first, then ordered his execution.
Yes, they're really serious, troubling allegations. They began life as an internal military investigation, but then they were taken up by a journalist called Nick McKenzie for the Fairfax newspapers, that's the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, and the Australian TV network, the ABC. Those resulted in a very long-running defamation case brought by Ben Roberts-Smith. The Fairfax and the ABC defended that case on the basis that the defamatory imputations were actually true, and they won. In 2023, a federal court judge found that on a heightened civil standard, 4 of those 6 allegations about Ben Roberts-Smith's commission of or involvement in those murders were true, and that he had, quote, disgraced his country. He lost all his appeals. It ended Roberts-Smith's corporate career, and now he's been arrested and charged with actual war crimes. The case has sort of sadly become a bit of a left and right of politics football. The left has held it up as an example of the inherent evils of war and those who participated in it. The right, like the billionaire Jenna Reinhardt, has said that Ben Roberts-Smith is being smeared by elites. I don't know about you. I'm really not sure how to feel about this. I mean, Robert Smith's clearly not a very lovable guy. Let's start with that.
No, but then again, you don't send lovable guys in to fight the Taliban, do you? And this guy's a unit. He's a huge guy, absolutely built, and he's a killer. So you kind of get what you pay for. But you're right, there are allegations of domestic violence as well. During the defamation case, he heavied people, writing to them on 7 Network letterhead. His own wife, on whom he was cheating, revealed he had burner phones buried in the backyard, which he was using for questionable contact with other witnesses. And it seems to me you can cheat on your wife or let her know you're using burner phones to plant evidence with witnesses, but you probably can't do both. So maybe it's not too bright either.
No. On the other hand, there's a lot of circus performance bullshit going on. The Australian Federal Police here arrested him publicly this week in front of his daughters, in front of other people coming off a plane. And it turns out the article by Nick McKenzie about the arrest, which appeared in the newspapers the day after the arrest, was written the day before the arrest.
In other words, right?
Yeah, in other words, the AFP and Fairfax newspapers were clearly in sort of show pony cahoots. I guess my real question here is, what's the reason for and what is the real wisdom of these war crimes allegations and the proposal to try him criminally? I mean, I realise many of his own troops gave evidence against him to the military and in the defamation hearing. But then again, a number of local and international troops also gave evidence for him, and they were not believed in the defamation case or the military tribunal, or they had their motivations questioned, I think quite unfairly, when those same questions about motivation could have been asked of a number of his own troops who gave evidence against him.
And ultimately, that's all the evidence there is witnesses back and forth, for and against. As I understand, there's virtually no physical evidence of any of the conduct by Robert Smith. It happened 20 years ago. I don't see how they get a conviction. In the civil case, a heightened balance of probabilities test was used, but this is different. This is a beyond reasonable doubt criminal standard.
And to be clear, I don't doubt this particular behaviour or some close cousin of it that's been alleged went on here, and that it goes on by Australian troops and those of other allied nations. In fact, we know it does. We know it was true of British forces, Canadian, American, but it does seem a bit rich to me, and I think a little bit, as you were adverting to, that we've gone out of our way to find guys like Ben Roberts-Smith, brave, crazed cyborgs, train them to be even braver, crazed cyborgs, honor them for being brave, crazed cyborgs, then accuse them and arrest them for being the brave, crazed cyborgs we recruited, trained, and pretty much hoped they'd be.
You kind of get the sense that there's been a revulsion at the high ranks of the Australian military about our involvement in wars like Afghanistan. And now we're cleaning house, but covering our asses on the way out the door. And of course, note that at every point, military leadership in Australia has gone out of its way to say that senior commanders didn't know this was going on. They were shocked and frankly disgusted to discover it. That was the core finding of the military's internal report, the Brereton report.
And that's all the way back to the Vietnam War, right? Bullshit. I don't believe for it. And I must say, I do wonder a bit, and maybe it shouldn't matter, but I do wonder a bit about the motives with which a couple of these journos and the Australian Federal Police have gone after this. You know, are these the guys that people like Ben Roberts-Smith used to bully back when they were kids, and not literally but figuratively? You know, or in the case of the Federal Police, against whom they feel inferior. You know,
yeah, he's the super alpha, this guy, isn't he? He's just apex.
Yeah. And more broadly, I kind of wonder if in Australia, whether we really only like our military heroes when they're victims, like in Gallipoli, for example, where we've revelled in Australians having been the sacrificial lambs of British military strategy. I think it's an interesting point.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just feels like Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. It feels like this guy was out there on the wall, and frankly, we can't handle the truth. So
yeah, maybe right.
I have not guilty at $1.25 and guilty at $4. Anyway, it won't be the last we hear of the case, and we'll discuss it further. But we'd love to know what you think. So text or email us using the links on our show notes. It's a controversial and difficult subject, and as we said, a controversial decision to arrest. So let us know your view.
If you could believe it, on this show, we could well be wrong.
Okay, Honk, enough of the war crimes. It's time for sport and a couple of big stories this week. The first, of course, our beloved West Tigers, our traditionally shithouse football team, who are now second on the ladder.
Second on the ladder. Suck it, Para.
After an Easter miracle against the Parramatta Eels, we were 10-0 down again for the third or fourth week in a row, then came back, then we're down again 2018 with a minute to go, then somehow leveled the scores, then won in extra time. Honky, I nearly had a heart attack, but it was tremendous viewing. Did you watch?
Well, I saw the highlights.
Not the whole game.
Well, I was in Brisbane was the problem.
Yeah, but they still have rugby league in Brisbane, Honky. In fact, it's arguably the capital of rugby league. You're still allowed to watch it.
I was busy, okay?
Doing what?
If you must know, I was doing a meet and greet with the great American band, the Black Crows.
Hang on a second. We saw the Black Crows together in Melbourne last week. So you saw them again in Brisbane this week.
Yeah, I saw them in Melbourne with you. Then Melbourne again when you went away for the weekend in Easter. I was gallivanting alone in your house the next night. It was delightful. Then I went back home to Sydney. Then I went to Brisbane to see them in Brisbane. Then back to Sydney where I saw the Black Crows on Wednesday night and again on Thursday night, last night as we record this.
Hang on, that's 5 Black Crows shows in 8 nights. You've seen them more times than you've seen Mrs. Honk.
You think she gives a fuck? She wishes the Black Crows would get a residency in East Timor 7 nights a week. And in all seriousness, they were absolutely great. Musically fantastic. Played their asses off every night. And as I said, got to meet them, and they were really nice, relaxed guys to boot.
Honk, did they play their classic track, West Tigers beat Para in extra time?
No, great question. That's the key question. Not only our jazz correspondent, but our rock correspondent too. That's actually going to be on their next album, which is called West Tigers 2026 Premiers. Triple album. It's going to be huge, especially in the United States state of Georgia, where they're from.
Yeah, except as the Batuta Advocate observed, if West Tigers make the finals, it will obviously immediately result in the end of the world.
Yeah, you're right. That's how Iran's going to end, right? Right before the Tigers finally win the fucking premiership. Our premiership hopes up in flames again.
Indeed. Now, speaking of Georgia, Honk, that's the other big sports story of the week, the Masters, or the US Masters, as we sometimes call it here.
Oh, yes. Obviously, I never miss a minute of that particular well-known sporting event, but just a slight prompt would be helpful. Other people, not for me, for other people.
So the Masters is the first golf major of the year, first of the 4, the Masters, the PGA, the US Open, the British Open, or just the Open, as they got in first.
In 1769.
1860, but yeah, pretty close. The Masters is the newest of the 4, but arguably the most prestigious. It was started by a guy called Bobby Jones, who was the best golfer of the 1920s, but who played as an amateur and retired at 28, having won 13 majors, none of which he accepted prize money for because he actually made his living as a lawyer.
He was the best golfer in the world and he retired to be a lawyer. That sounds like he had some pretty serious.
Yeah, it's serious priority issues. Anyway, when he retired, he decided to build his own golf course on a former plant nursery in Augusta, Georgia. That became Augusta National Golf Club. And then he created his own tournament, which became the Masters, and it's become a huge thing. It has all these little traditions, like a green jacket for the winner, which has to be kept at the course after the first year of wearing it around the world. There's a locker room and a car park exclusively for former champions, and that's where they keep the jacket.
Locker room, I assume, not the car park.
But the other one is the Champions Dinner, officially known as the Masters Club, and it is only attended by the club chairman and former Masters champions. It's one of the hardest clubs to get into in the world. It meets once a year over dinner on the Tuesday night before the tournament. And the beauty of the dinner is that the reigning champion chooses the menu and the wine list.
I assume they don't get 6 banh mi from Uber Eats like I did at your place last week.
No, as good as they were, obviously, Honky. This year's menu was chosen by the Irishman Rory McIlroy, and here's what he went with, Honk. I'm going to just read some selections. The appetizers.
We'll put this up on the screen for you as well. Here we go.
Peach and ricotta flatbread, bacon-wrapped dates, rock shrimp tempura, grilled elk sliders. Into the first course, yellowfin tuna carpaccio. Into the mains, a choice of Wagyu filet mignon or seared salmon. And for dessert, a sticky toffee pudding. Sounds delicious.
That food doesn't sound very Irish, though.
Well, the bacon wrap dates, to be fair, were his mother's specialty. But yes, as he said, I wanted other people to enjoy it. And having grown up at least partly on my father's Irish cooking, I can attest to the power of that statement.
I mean, I love the Irish people, but they're not well known for their wines, and those wines don't sound very Irish either.
Well, you have a keen eye, Honky. They are the absolute best that France has to offer and some of the best wines in the world.
Yeah, I can see. To go with the appetizers, you've got the 2015 Salon Esprit from the Le Mesnil-sur-Auger Grand Cru, arguably the most prestigious of champagnes Blanc de Blancs, which are the champagnes made exclusively from white grapes, usually Chardonnay.
It's the only wine Salon makes, and it's only the 45th vintage released in the house's 120-year history.
Well, that's an encouraging start. Then you got, with the first course of yellowfin tuna carpaccio with the foie gras, you mentioned you've got your Domaine Le Fleuve Batal Montrachet Grand Cru 2022, a Burgundy, rated 96, I believe, out of 100 by the critics.
Well, Rory said that was the first white wine that he liked. That's how it got to go.
What's wrong with Chateau Lafitte or Maison Metho? He's had it good for too long, this guy.
And it doesn't end there. With the mains, he's gone for a red. In this case, a 1990 Chateau Lafitte Rothschild Bordeaux.
Whoa. Literally one of the best red wines in the world.
Yeah, it's basically a Cab Sav, but more so. And to finish, Honk, a 1989 Chateau d'Yquem Sauterne, also from Bordeaux.
A sticky end, but what a way to go. Again, the top-rated sweet wine in the world. Sorry, who pays for all this?
Well, that's the beauty of it. The reigning champion picks the wines and menu and pays for the dinner. So they reckon this one cost in the order of 100 grand. But Rory won 4.2 million for winning the tournament last year, so not sure he'll even notice.
Well, I must admit, I still have absolutely no interest in golf at all, but do let me know if a spot comes up at the dinner.
Well, you can be my +1 if we both win the Masters.
Well, that is quite the anecdote. I'm starving.
I'm thirsty.
But Henry, I've got to say, to something a little less easy on the palate. We talked before about Ben Roberts-Smith. Whether you think Ben Roberts-Smith is a bad dude or not, or exactly how bad you think he is, there are a group of people in institutions who absolutely are. In fact, they're cunts. And that is why we have no choice to bring you Cunt of the Week. Music, please.
I'm a cunt.
Okay, first, Henry, the two female teachers at an Arizona high school, one in her 20s, the other in her 40s, both found to be sleeping with the same male student. The younger teacher was doing the guy's homework, was buying him booze and drugs. The older teacher was jealous, and so she started sending him nude videos moaning his name.
What's this kid got that made him so irresistible to these teachers / pedos?
Oh, braces, after-school band practice.
Back knee?
You name it, he had it all.
Was he also shagging Stifler's mom?
Look, the cops are still investigating. Have patience, but I assume the answer is yes. Also extremely cunty this week was US Vice Prostate BJ Vance, who took a break from rooming Donald Trump to go to Hungary and campaign room its far-right Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who's facing electoral defeat after 16 years as Prime Minister just this go-around at an election that's being held this weekend. Now, Orban is a would-be autocrat, bigot, and above all is Russia's biggest puppet ally in Europe, whom Vance is campaigning for while Russia continues to attack Ukraine and while Russia sells drones to and advises Iran in Iran's war with the United States.
Yeah, it's disgraceful. What's the Hungarian honk for? The extent of Trump's compromise by Russian intelligence is out of fucking control?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I believe it is Trump as oros hirzetes kozeti kompromisum merteke kibazotul control Hatalan. Thank you for asking.
Well, Hungarian speakers will let us know if he got that right or if that was Telstra and he was just cracking up over the Wi-Fi. By the way, funny stat, Honk, the latest polls show the result of Vance's visit this week was that Orban's numbers went down 3%.
That's why we call him PJ. He's known for going down.
But Honk, in the serious cunt stakes this week, the world-class country street, kudos to the Pentagon, which called in the Vatican's ambassador to the US, who's a cardinal, as you'd imagine, and threatened him that the Pope, who, remember, is American, had to start supporting US military policy in Iran, not criticising it, as he has been during, for example, his Easter speech. And the Pentagon even referenced the Avignon papacy, which was the period from 1309 to 1376 when France controlled the papacy, killed at least one pope, forced the election of a pope they liked, and kept him in France, not at the Vatican. So basically, the US threatened to remove the elected pope.
How did the Pope take that?
Well, His Eminence looks pretty hard to flap honky. He's refused BJ Vance's personal invite to attend the US's 250th birthday celebrations, maybe because BJ Vance killed the last pope as well.
I would think, yeah.
But in a magnificent show of fuck you, this week he demonstrated what he did have time for, and that was learning how to spin a basketball on his finger with the Harlem Globetrotters. Listeners, we'll post this to our show notes.
That is a great fuck you. But Henry, I want to finish by talking about something serious, even more serious than threatening to imprison or murder the Pope. I want to talk about the Australian Constitution. Now, it is not well known, but if you turn right to the back of the Constitution, there are two secret sections right at the back of the document.
The sealed sections.
Yeah, the sealed section. The second last page of the sealed section guarantees in the Constitution, and you probably know this from personal bitter experience, that in Australia, no microphone or PA system is allowed to work properly at a wedding, bar mitzvah, school prize giving, or any other event where it actually fucking matters and people can hear you or not. So that's why that always happens. It's in the Constitution. There's nothing anyone can do about it. Then there's the last page of the Constitution. Now, we don't have a guarantee of free speech in this country. It's a common law tradition. But the last page is clear. You can say what you want. You can call people cunts as we do, but thou shalt not graffiti fuck Israel on the big banana in Coffs Harbour. In fact, thou shalt not graffiti on any big thing in Australia at all.
Well, you can't put from the river to the sea on the big trout.
Or you'd add a Minibee. No global RZ Defada on the big Merino and Goulburn. No, you cannot. What else? What other big things are there? I can't remember.
The big pineapple.
The big pineapple, yeah. No, fuck the Zionists on the big pineapple. No kill the Jews on the big thong. Just no.
There's a big prawn, I think, somewhere.
Big prawn, yeah.
It's not kosher. I don't think the big prawn.
Especially nothing anti-Semitic or anti-Zionist on the big prawn. Keep your free speech off our big things. Whoever defiled that work of art, the big banana, that is Australia's Mona Lisa, okay? Whoever else is thinking of doing... Lisa. It's a big Mona Lisa. Whoever defiled that work of art this week, whoever else is thinking of doing likewise, you are our cunt of the week.
There you go. Well, thanks for your company, everybody. That's about all we have time for. It's appreciated as always. You're joining us each week. You can watch the show if you're not already on YouTube. Numbers are going up there on a weekly basis, which is very exciting for us. You can drop us a like or a comment. We'd love to hear from you. On Spotify, you've got a choice of video or audio. If you're worried about seeing Trump having guys coming at him one after the other, take the audio option, and we're everywhere you get your podcasts, and on social media, especially TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for our short clips. Please share us with your friends on your socials, your WhatsApp groups, and so on, and rate us on Apple's Podcasts and Spotify, because it all really helps grow the show.
Yes, especially this week, as we said. Check out our show notes for a rundown of what's in the show. We always say that, but this week, remember, you can send us a text from the show notes. We'll read it on the show, or a voicemail direct from those show notes, and we'll play it on the show, especially, again, about the question of Ben Robert-Smith. Love to hear what you think. But do also read our show notes for extremely dumb jokes, so dumb that Pete Hegseth himself would never fart on them, except live, perhaps, on television in 4K.
With a cigarette lighter.
With a cigarette.
So we'll be back again next week at the usual time of as soon as possible on Saturday, Aussie Eastern Standard Time.
As you know, we like to finish the show each week with some audio of particular crookery, fuck witticism, or Moronification, Aussidiness.
It's a game of two halves this week, Honky, a bit like the Tigers in that we've each made a selection. I've gone with former Fox News host and now successful broadcaster in her own right, Megyn Kelly, who has said what we're all thinking in relation to Trump.
And she's a far-right psychotic former Trump supporter.
She certainly has been. In any event, she hits the nail on the head here.
I myself have gone in a slightly different direction. I told you before that I missed the Tigers game because I was in Brisbane meeting the Black Crows. That's not true. I did actually watch the game. I was backstage in Edinburgh, Scotland, with my real musical heroes, the Wiggles.
But Honk, your oldest child is 11.
Yeah, I said my musical heroes. And the Blue Wiggle, as is well known, Anthony Field, is a massive West Tigers fan. I myself, I think we've both seen him at games at Leichhardt Oval. So This is Anthony Field backstage watching the Tigers win in extra time in Edinburgh. So please, enjoy the Wiggles. And then Megyn Kelly being right for once in her life. And meantime, we'll be back next week because, as the great Henry Lee always says...
Brian, are you there? Sorry. Stupid never sleeps.
If he gets it.
Now, as you can imagine, that post did not go over well with the Iranians or with many Americans. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. Can't he just behave like a normal human? I mean, honestly, like the president, 3 each, yes, shut up. Fucking shut up about that shit.